Worms, worms. I have worms in my kitchen in a 5-gallon bucket. They eat all my food garbage except for the meat. This colony has been going for about 12 years, although I've kept worms for over 14. I found these worms at the bottom of a leaf pile and brought them home. I'd already bought a 5-gallon container with a locking top from Dunkin' Donuts for 50 cents. I drilled holes in the bottom for draining the moisture and holes in the top for air. The air holes are covered with screen on both sides to keep out flies. I filled the bucket 1/3 full with potting soil, another third full with peat moss, and mixed it all together. I added a couple hundred worms to the 2/3 full bucket and let them go to work. The bucket goes on a stand with a drainage pan. The pan directs the worm juices into a cup on the floor. The liquid in the cup can be used as fertilizer for my plants. Every time I have vegetable scraps, carrot peelings, celery ends, and such, they go into the bucket on top of the dirt. The worms digest all this garbage and transform it into soil. I don't put in any citrus peels or pickled products because worms don't like anything too caustic, too acid or base. I also don't add any meat, animal fats, or bones. I prefer my worms to remain vegetarians. For nearly 15 years, this system has worked for one person's vegetable scraps or as many as 4 people. Once I had a roommate who'd juice a pound of carrots every day. All the waste went into the worm bucket, and the worms thrived. The finer something is ground, the better it fits their tiny mouths. They also like coffee grounds and cornmeal or flour. Worms like cool, dark places. It can't be too wet or they drown. That's why you see worms on the sidewalk on a rainy day. Their holes have been inundated and they have to wriggle for their lives. I add a little peat moss to absorb excess moisture, and usually my system of drainage keeps the worms happy. Worms also like a temperature on the cool side. They like it above 40 degrees Fahrenheit and below 100 degrees. My first colony died when a roommate put the worm bucket on the back porch in full summer sunlight. They baked, and I had to start the colony again. I also had a problem with flies once. I left the rind of a cantaloupe out overnight where flies laid eggs in it. The eggs became maggots when I put that infested rind in the worm bucket. I had to have a maggot hunt. Since then, there haven't been any other problems. No roaches, no mice, no rats, no muss, no fuss, and no smell. The worm bucket is something of a perpetual motion machine. It never fills. The bulk of all the vegetable scraps I put in become the moisture that drains off, the compressed castings the worms produce, and air. There's no smell of decomposition, only the fragrance of fresh earth when you open the top to add your wastes. I used to clean the bucket once a year and harvest some very fertile potting soil, but I don't even bother to do that anymore. I just drop my vegetable peelings into the bucket and click the top shut. The worms do all the rest.